So I hate to be the one to say it. Community builders and independent creators, our community and our audience does not owe us a single thing. It's a hard pill to swallow when we put so much on the line. We put our money on the table. We put our time. And sometimes we put our families on the back burner for this community because we believe strongly in what we are doing. And that is commendable. Tap yourself on the back and do not wait for anybody else to do that. But also recognize when it is time to bow out. Hey guys, it's Anna Gogo, founder of Black Pod Collective, Black Pod Festival, and Adode Media. And I am the host of the Podcast Trapper, which is your weekly dose of all things podcasting. So join me as I share my behind the scenes experiences, tidbits, as to what it takes to be a community builder, what it's taken for me to build a brand, conference, as well as a studio and production agency. And on this week's episode, I really want to talk about something that I know is probably going to ruffle feathers, so please do not cancel me. And if you do, hey, that's life. Somebody got to get canceled every week anyway. I really want to talk about our expectations as independent creators and community builders. And so in this week's episode, how do I say, your community doesn't really owe you anything. I know that seems shocking to say, especially coming from me. So let's actually kind of dive into this. As independent creators, as community builders, I think I'm going to actually split those two because everybody who's an independent creator is not also a community builder. This episode is very much so my take on things, my experience, and my thoughts. So as I said, this is about podcasting, but it's very much so about my own lens of experience. So if you don't agree, that's perfectly fine. You can say what you want on your own podcast. So as an independent creator, I think sometimes we get upset, and I say we because I've been in this same boat before. We get upset at the notion that we are creating something and our audience may not be tuning in. We may feel like, okay, my audience is tuning in. They're seeming to want this, and I'm creating space for that. I'm doing a live show. I'm writing the newsletter. I'm asking people to subscribe, and it's just not happening. And it can be very frustrating. And let me first tell you, that is perfectly fine. It is a human emotion to feel overwhelmed and frustrated that something that you might be passionate about and you enjoy, others may not enjoy it. And that too is okay. So let me first lay the groundwork of this is not me saying that there's anything wrong with people feeling hurt that others are not investing back into them. But I want us to remind ourselves that nobody asked us to create content. Yes, sometimes we see a gap in the space and we want to get our voices out there, but nobody actually asked of this from us. We may be in our smaller circles. Like, my friends may tell me that, hey, girl, I really think you should do a podcast about the healthcare industry and your experiences and how to navigate healthcare because I have a background in insurance and all of these things. My friends think I'm amazing. I don't expect the rest of the world to think I'm amazing. I just expect them to think I'm great. And if I then started this podcast that nobody asked of me but my 5 friends, at some point, we have to ask ourselves, who are we really upset with? Like, I've been seeing a lot of things online of people kind of chastising their communities, kind of chastising their audience of kind of being upset that they're not doing the things. They're not listening. They're not tuning in. And everybody is entitled to what they want. And so this is the reminder of, it's okay to create content for yourself because you enjoy it. It's okay because of the fact that this is a story you feel like needs to be out there. And if you're doing it for that purpose, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if only 2 people or nobody listens. You're doing it because you are passionate about it. And I need us to get back to a space of where we are doing things for the passion of it. So that's for the independent creators who are finding themselves feeling a little defeated, feeling a little annoyed, feeling like, should my voice still be in this space? And those are valid questions to ask yourself because this is a lot of time and work and investment. And if you're doing it just for the monetary elements, just for the accolades, you might be in this for the wrong reasons. When you're passionate about something, you do it with gusto. You do it with glee almost because of the fact that this is something you feel like needs to be out there. But once you start getting to a space to where you're getting annoyed with your audience for not responding whenever you post on social, whenever you send out a newsletter and tell them to subscribe, when they're not doing your call to action and you're getting annoyed with them, it might be time for you to reevaluate why you're doing this. This is the same for community builders. Please know, I fully understand that being a community builder, it is hard. It is thankless work. And every so often you may get a thank you, and those moments feel amazing. Every so often you hear of a story of somebody telling you of how they got a sponsorship at your event. You hear somebody telling you how they sat on the stairs and they made the decision to go into content creation and make a plan. And those moments will make you feel amazing. But those moments are far and in between. The day-to-day of being a community builder feels like gut-wrenching work. It feels like, what the hell was I thinking? And who asked me to do this in the first place? It feels very much so of ideating, creating, figuring out how you can be there for your community, figuring out how you can kind of push the needle forward one day at a time. It is thankless work. I'm not a person who's telling you like, oh, you need to come thank me. No, you don't owe me anything. I made the decision to start this community because I saw a void. I made the decision to launch a conference because I saw a void. I made the decision to keep doing all of these things because I saw a void. Nobody owes me a single thing. Let that sink in for a second. This audience that we have built in a society where people like to watch, you have to ask yourself, do you have a community or do you have a bunch of people who just like to people watch? And that's the thing. Like, I think we talked about this years ago of this influencer who had like 50 million followers and she couldn't sell 7 t-shirts. It was a big thing. Everybody talked about it. She could not get people to buy 7 t-shirts that I think were like $27. And she was outraged. She felt like, her community didn't show up for her, blah, 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 blah. Is that actually a community then? Did she really have 50 million, and I'm not sure if that's the number, followers who were engaged? Or did she just have 50 million people who like to stare? Because sometimes social media and being a community builder feels very much so like you're in a fish tank. People are watching you to see what you do. People are watching you to see how you move. People are watching you to see guidance in the industry. Like, they want a lot from you. But guess what? We put ourselves in this position to where people should want stuff from us. Because think about it. Like, when I think of community activists, I expect a lot from them. I want them to go activate for me. Like, think of why people are upset with Black Lives Matter. Yes, take out the piece that they took a bunch of money. But people also felt like they weren't doing enough for the community because they saw them as their activists. They saw them as the people who were there to speak up for them. That is our role as community builders. People expect things from us. But here's the sad truth. People can expect things from us, and when we deliver it, they do not value the things to pay for it. And I can't speak for other races, but I can speak for Black people. I feel fairly confident that I can. Our community, more than anything, we like a good bargain. We like free things. We don't like to invest our money. Sometimes we don't even like to invest our time to learn things, not less to say to foster community. If there's not a celebrity attached to an event, our community doesn't show up in the droves that they need to. Let's think about this. Like, really stop and reflect. This is not supposed to be super deep. This is me just sharing my thoughts and my feelings right now, just based off of what I've been seeing over the past few weeks. And by the time this episode airs, who knows? My feelings could change. But we have to stop thinking that anybody owes us, because our community has already told us time and time again what they will do, how they will behave, period. Period. If there's not a celebrity associated, and I am not a celebrity, people show up for those type of elements, and even that is changing. Our industry is changing. So I hate to be the one to say it. Community builders and independent creators, our community and our audience does not owe us a single thing. It's a hard pill to swallow when we put so much on the line. We put our money on the table, we put our time, and sometimes we put our families on the back burner for this community because we believe strongly in what we are doing. And that is commendable. Tap yourself on the back and do not wait for anybody else to do that. But also recognize when it is time to bow out. Recognize when, you know what, I have done enough. Recognize that nobody owes you anything, so being upset with them is pointless. And I say this because I speak from experience. I remember after Black Pod Festival, I was angry. I was very upset. I felt like I put so much energy, so much time, so much money into a conference, and what did I have to show for it? I didn't make any money. Sponsors weren't busting down my door. I was still in the same predicament, and $25,000 of my own money went into this conference. That's money I could have used for equipment for my business. That's money I could have used for marketing for my business. So I was angry with myself because I did not make wise business decisions just because of the fact that my passion project. Yes, that's what this is. Black Pod Collective and Black Pod Festival is a passion project. It is a hobby. It does not generate any money for me. And I spent $25,000 on a passion project. Something that wore me out to the ground. I mean, baby. And what did I have to show for it? People saying, we had so much fun. I made connections. How nice. And as a community builder, I'm expected to just be happy with that. That's the thank you. But that's not enough. And we have to start asking ourselves, what are we doing this for? What will be enough to where we don't feel hurt, betrayed, left when our community does not show up in the way that we would need them to continue the work that we do? So I don't have the answers, but this episode is more so to talk about the fact that we have to start asking ourselves, if the community is not showing up to support or not indicating that this is what they want, it's okay for us to tap out. If nobody else has told you, I'm here to tell you, if you need to step back, I give you permission. If you don't want to do community anymore, I give you permission. Everybody has a lot of expectations of people that they see as doing the work, but nobody actually knows what goes into doing that work. And before you start feeling anger or upset or expectation from people that we actually do not know, take your step back, take your rest. Somebody told me, you've been complaining ever since Black Pod Festival. No, I have not. I just have for the first time been fully transparent about my experiences, because oftentimes I don't like to complain. I don't want to say anything, but it's important that people know that I am tired because I am human. I'm allowed to be tired as a community builder. I'm allowed to share my grievances, my feelings, but I have to remind myself that I'm not owed a single thing. So that's what I want people to remember as we go forward into this recession and what is going on right now with creators in the podcast industry and sponsors not giving money and community members not investing. And this is not shade or slight to anybody, but this is my reminder to those doing the work that it is okay and I see you. And it's okay to decide that, you know what, I need a moment. I'm proud of you. But the moment you start feeling that somebody owes you a single thing, that you've built something for other people, so of course they should come, that is your moment to take a step back. Reevaluate, why are you doing this? And is it truly worth it to you, not the community? Because we have to start putting ourselves before this community eats us alive because of the fact that they're in such a take season, and especially for Black people. I get it. There's so many of us who have not had for a very long time. And somebody once told me, Anna, you've accomplished a lot of things that for some of us, it's hard to fathom how we in essence started at the same time as you. We were independent creators together. and you're opening a studio and expanding and having a team and all of these things, it's sometimes very hard to recognize that you yourself are independent. So I get it, but I also don't think we should give this much of ourselves to strangers and a community of people who may need us and may love the work that we do, but we know the truth of our community, especially for us Black people. We know the truth. We don't always, and I'm guilty of this too, we don't always invest our money in the things that we think are great. And yes, it's a mix of not having it, but also a truth of not always seeing the value, because on the outside looking in, it looks like it came easy and that you too can easily just do all of this stuff. And I'm here to tell you it's not easy, but hey, I'm also here to encourage you. Feel free to try. I'll support it. So that's my take this week. I don't have any answers. It's just more so me kind of getting it off my chest of these things that I'm seeing where independent creators and community builders and people are just really at odds, because there's a lot that's happening. There's a lot that's changing. The industry is changing. The internet is changing, and we have to stay abreast. But it's hard to stay abreast when we don't have the funds to do it. And I know I talked about our audience, but I hate to be the one to say it. Sponsors also don't owe us shit. They don't. I know. That one was hard for me too. Because the fad of being there for Black creators, baby, that is died. Those days are gone. The industry has changed. And so it's time as community builders and independent creators that we too start evaluating how we can change. And don't worry, when I figure out what that change looks like for myself, my business, Black Pod Collective, whatever the case may be, I'll be definitely sure to let you guys know. But it's okay. Nobody owes us anything, but we owe ourselves everything. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you found this information helpful. I know you're probably thinking to yourself, Anna, I tune in for podcasting. You didn't really tell me much of anything. You over here vetting. Guess what? It's my podcast. I bet if I want to. Yeah. It's been one of those days. But hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have something that you would love for me to talk about on the podcast, hear my thoughts about, hey, if you like to hear me rant, go ahead and shoot an email over to support@adodemedia.com. Don't forget, Adode is ADODE media.com. Until next time, guys, have a good one.